Alright, I'll show you how you can implement the parkour system to your project right now. As you can see, I have an empty third-person template open here, but the steps are going to be same for pretty much every project you have, every third-person project you have, or pretty similar basically. What I have here is I have imported some parkour animations for the showcase purposes, but I also downloaded the parkour system from the links that you have, and I've opened the zip file. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the project folder that wherever you have installed your project at. In this case mine is in Unreal Projects folder, and just open this up and go to the contents folder of your project folder. It's going to look something like this. After that, open this folder that you have, Parkour System folder, and as you can see you have a content folder. Open this one as well. Now all you have to do is drag and drop this into the content folder of your project, and it will then create the Parkour System folder on your project as well. Now you can close these two. Let's open this window. Now what you want to do is open up your character blueprint. In this case, the empty third-person project is going to be under third-person blueprints, and the character is right here. I'm going to open this up. Here what you want to do is go ahead and add the parkour component here. You can do this by getting onto the components part and clicking on add. For whatever reason, if you don't have this tab, you can just enable it on the window, clicking on this window part, and you can hit the components here if you are missing any window that you accidentally closed or something. Now all you gotta do is hit the add button, and from here search for the parkour component. It will add it like so. And now on the event graph, I'm going to add this to the jump function. So I'm getting into my jump function here that the character has, the default character has. I'm going to drag this aside, and I'm going to extend this part a little bit. Now I'm going to get this parkour component, drag and drop it onto the blueprint here. From the parkour system, the BPC parkour system here, I'm going to drag from here and search parkour. This function, the first one, just says parkour. I'm going to drag this, and here I'm going to connect this to the started part, and from here I'm going to create a branch, and the condition for this branch is going to be again from the parkour system. Here just type jump, get jump boolean, this one, and just connect it like so. If this is true, we are going to go on with our jump, and if this is false, we're not going to do anything. Now we can compile and save this. Something else we want to do is, let's get to the viewport. What you want to do is click on your character's mesh, and here on the anim class, you want to open the animation blueprint. You can easily find this by again clicking on the character's mesh and clicking on this folder icon. This will take you to the blueprint here, the animation blueprint. What you want to do is go ahead and open this up, and go ahead and open the anim graph here. What you want to do is drag this output pose, and before the output pose we are going to create a default slot if you don't have one. If you have one, you can use a default slot for the animation, or if your animations uses different slots than this, for example, you have created a different anim slot for your animation, you want to right click here and type default slot, and it's going to create this one here. You can from the slot name choose different slots that you have, that you use, for example the full body, or if you have created a different one and you want to connect this before the output pose, if you don't already have this, or again like this part, you can connect it right before the IK system or the control rig if your animations work fine with that. If you have certain animations that you don't want, you can create a different slot for that as well, or you can disable this in the animation itself using a anim notify. Now after you do that, let's get back to the third person character. Let's get to the event graph. Now the only thing remaining is actually setting up your parkour animations. So to do that, let's just click on the parkour system here. From here, you can use different options. For example, if you want your character to only be able to climb and not vault over, you can just disable that by clicking on this simply. And same thing for the mental part. Or if you want your character to only be able to climb over certain objects or mantle over certain objects or vault over them, you can enable the requires tag option here. If you enable that, you will need to set this part up, the climb tag. And after you set that part up, let's say you want your character to climb over only this object in this scene. All you gotta do is click on the object, and from the details panel, right here, the details panel, from the search bar, just search tag. And here you can add a component tag, and the name of that tag is going to be the same one as the one you set up here. If you want to use that function as well, use that option. But I'm going to show you the parkour system as is. You can just mess around with these settings. Don't disable this part though, the component tick. Don't change any values here. Now, what you want to change, however, is the vault montage parts. Right here, the montages, parkour montages, high vault montages, and the climb montages. Let's start with the vault part. Here, these values are the length of the objects that you are going to vault over. So the animations you set on this part is only going to play if the object you're trying to vault over is at 75 units or shorter, and the second one at 186 units or shorter. So basically anywhere between these two, and it goes on like that. You can add more values here if you want to say that. You can add 400, 500, whatever you want, or lower values if you want to. However, one thing to keep in mind, these values need to be in order, basically going from low to high. You can't basically make this one 300 and make this 75, otherwise it will break the system. You need to go from low to high. That's the only thing to keep in mind. Now, in order to add the montage, all you have to do is extend this part, click on the add button, and from here you want to select your montage that you have created. And if you don't know how to create an anime montage, I'll show you that. Here, for example, I have an anime montage here, this one, where the character vaults over an object. Now, if I want to create an anime montage of this, you're going to need to right click. From here, just get on the create and create anime montage. It will then create the anime montage for you. Now, in the anime montage, you're going to need to do a few things. I'm going to show you that. First, let's add a new notify track. You can do that by getting on the notifies and clicking on the track and then add notify track. Here, let's pause the animation. Now, the first thing you want to do is create an anime notify state. It's going to be the parkour state notify, this one. And you want to drag this from the start all the way to where the movement ends. So around like here, the movement ends around here. And for the movement mode, you want this to be this is basically what your character will be doing after the animation ends. So for a vault, you can set it as falling or walking, depending on your project you have and the animation, of course. And the parkour move here, you're going to need to check that one. It's going to be a vault value. We're going to need to check the vault value. And basically again end where the movement ends, around here. And then we are going to create two more notifies since this is a vault animation. So the first one is going to be again right click, add notify state, and it's going to be parkour warp state. And I'm going to start it from the start of the animation and go until the character basically reaches where the object is, or around, let's say, this part here, right before where the character puts his hands down. I'm going to extend it all the way there. This is going to determine how long it's going to take your character to reach to that position. Basically, once the animation reaches to this part here, this frame, your character should reach to the desired location. which is going to be the first location in this case. The first one is going to be the first location, and we are going to create one more here. Let's make this get closer by using the scroll wheel and the control key. Now right click, add notify state, again parkour warp state. This one is going to be the second location. I'm getting them pretty close to each other but not touching directly. And I will drag this until the character covers the object. So let's get around this part here. This looks nice. And for this one, I'm going to uncheck the first location because this is going to be the second location. I'm going to drag this all the way here. Now I will save this animation. Here you're going to see two offsets for the parkour warp state. The first one, the Z offset, determines how much higher the character will be from the position that you set. Basically, if I add a value like 50 here, you can set this for each individual one, by the way. You're going to need to separately set them. It's going to be 50 units, unreal units, basically 50 centimeters higher than the object or the object location, and you can use them to determine where exactly you want your character to be at. I'm going to leave them at 0, and we are going to set this later on after we see how the animation plays. Now I'm going to save this. Here on the character, I'm going to, for the 7 and 5, I'm going to get a previous montage that I previously made. So I'm going to set this one, and you can add multiple montages here, as many as you want, and it's going to alternate between them, play random one each time you jump over an object. And for the 186, I'm going to get the montage that I've just created. So let's try. So if I have selected the animation here, as you can see, it is selected on the content drawer. Once I click on this, you selected asset here, it's going to automatically pick this one. Again, you can set as many animations for these as well. And for the vault montage 300, I'm going to set one more that I've previously made. I'm going to set this one here. And now I will compile to test the vault part, and then we'll go over the climb as well. So in order to test it, I'm going to go ahead and create a cube here from this add button, shapes, and then a cube. And I'm going to lower it to the ground. And then I will, I guess, make it like this. And let's see. So let me open it in a new window so we can better see what it looks like. Now, as you can see, it did vault over. It did vault over, but there are some clipping issues. Now we can set these values here. So for the Z offset on this one, I'm going to set this to be something like 65. And the forward offset, I'm going to set this at minus, let's say minus 35. And for the first one, I'm going to set the Z offset at 25. Or actually, let's set it at 12 for now. And the forward offset, again, I'm going to set this as minus 25. And if we save this and try again, as you can see, it went much more smoothly this time. Now what you see at the end where the character moves it, I've added that to if your animation doesn't use root motion, it basically launches your character to make it look more authentic. However, you can disable that if you want to. I'll show you that as well. Right click on the parkour system and hit edit. On here, get to the event graph, and then somewhere around here it should be launch. Okay, the add impulse part, I can just disable that and compile. Now if we play it again, Let's see. Did it push it again? Actually, let's see. Yeah, maybe there's one I forgot in the animation as well. The parkour state notify. Let's open this one up. And on the end notify. Nope, doesn't do that. So maybe it is in the parkour system as well. That parkour state. Stop. So I guess it's just part of the animation that it does that. Moves to the other side. Again, by the way, you can extend this part as much as you want. You can extend it all the way to the end if you want to. Let's try that. Now for the climbing section, it's going to be this pretty much the same thing. So let's close this vault montage part. And let's get to the climb montages, this part here. Now these are the values that determine how high the object is compared to the player's mid height, basically the waist height of the player. Let me show you what I mean. So if I go here, it's going to be like 5 height, maybe 5 to 10 units higher than the player's waist height. And this is going to be like again 10 to 20 higher than the player's height, maybe a bit more. And it is determined by again the player's height. So minus 80 is going to be basically where you step on objects, and this is going to be the waist height of the character, and the 80 to higher is going to be the climb target. So what you want to do is again click on the add button, and you can add multiple values here as well. So I'm going to pick some animations to showcase. Also, let's open these up and set the slot to default slot on the animations as well. Once you save, the animation will start to play again. Don't worry about that if you change this value. Let's set these default slot. Now let's save them all. If we hit play, we should be able to climb over this object, and as you can see, we perfectly did so. And we can climb over higher objects as well. So let's create another object here, or let's get this wall closer, or better off, let's get this part closer. As you can see, it used a different animation. Of course, the animations do matter. For example, this one is a shorter climb animation than the other. Compared to this one is a bit longer animation, so I think it would be more appropriate for this site if we switch these around. But you get the idea. And that was it for the climb section. And for the high vault montage, let's get to that. The high vault montage, the first value is going to be the height of the wall, the same as the climb. So the first value is the same value as the climb montage, the height of the object compared to the players. And if you extend this, you're going to get the vault length. And if you extend this one, you're going to get 2 more values. These are the length of the object that you are going to cover with the vault animation. So basically this part is the same as the vault montage. First part is the climb, and the second part is the vault basically. And for the 65, let me show you that. If you hit on add, it's going to create the animation, and it's going to be the same as that one. Let me pick this one. It's going to be exactly the same thing as the regular vault. You're going to get 2 warp states. The first one is going to be the first location, and the second one is going to be not first location, the second location basically. And the parkour state notify again is going to be exactly the same. And that's how you do the high vault part. So let's get this thing a bit higher. Let's move it up. So we're going to need to work on the value here. This part doesn't go very high, so let's get this to 0. And this part, let's set them both to 0. Let's see what it looks like then, without any values. It will then cover the, as you can see, cover the object like so. And you can use probably a shorter animation for this length, because as you can see, this animation is a bit too long for this object. You can use a different animation of your choosing. But that's pretty much how you set up this parkour system for your own character. It's going to be exactly the same part for the, let's see, where's the character? It's going to be the same thing for the character. Just open up the character that you have, click on add, and then add the object, and then add it to this part. And the setup is also going to be exactly the same. And for the animation blueprint, again, all you have to do is click on the anim graph, get here and add a default slot before the output pose or the control rig, and then compile and save everything, and it's going to work just fine. And the animations are set up the way where I told you. You have to set these animation up in order to use the parkour system. So you're going to add one parkour state notify, and then one warp state notify if it is a climb, and 2 if it is a vault. It doesn't matter if it's a high vault or the regular vault, it's going to require 2 of these. However, if you do not use root motion on your animations and you just have in place animations, you can use multiple first place nodes to move your character, and you use multiple second place nodes, but I do not recommend using multiple second place nodes. However, the multiple first location nodes with different values should work fine if you do not use root motion animation. Also, real quickly, if you want to disable that climb height text on the other side, I mean, I'm pretty sure you would want to disable that. All you have to do is open the parkour system here by right clicking and edit parkour system. It's going to directly open it, and from here on the set values part, click on the set values function under the functions, this one. You want to go ahead and delete this part, this climb string part, as you can see. Delete that and directly connect it like so, the climb height to here, and then if you compile and save, and then climb again, as you can see, that part is now gone. Anyways, thank you for watching, and this is how you set it up. So see you next time.